Another seat for the pro-democracy camp. Never before has it won so many in a district council election. Carrie Lam is one of the winners. He says voters wanted to make their voices heard after seeing the heavy-handed tactics of the Hong Kong police.
They are not happy with how they deal with the protests so far, particularly in the last 5 months. And police brutality is actually over the top, I think. And I think that the Hong Kong people should really leverage on this result to ask for more democracy in the future.
Pro-democracy voters already started to celebrate earlier in the night when it became clear that some of the pro-Beijing heavyweights had lost their seats. Activists had urged people to get out and cast their ballots. 70% of voters answered the call.
If there are more Hong Kongers casting their ballots, it means a better democracy. So if this year's voter turnout is higher than the previous election, I think that's quite positive.
The poll was to elect district councillors. They have little political power, controlling some spending, and issues like recycling and public health. Hong Kong's district councils have long been dominated by the pro-Beijing establishment. This time, and for the first time, the scales have tipped decisively in favour of the pro-democracy movement.
Let's get more now. We are joined live from Hong Kong by our correspondent, Charlotte Chelson-Pill. So we have some stunning results here, Charlotte. How are Hong Kongers reacting today?
Sarah, I think both camps today are astonished at those election results last night. Typically, the pro-establishment parties dominate these district council elections. This time around, they have practically been obliterated. We're hearing from local media that some 90% of seats have now gone to pro-democracy candidates. Now, those candidates were expecting to make some gains, particularly in light of the the registration boost, the number of voters who did turn out to cast their ballots yesterday, but they weren't expecting anything like this. As I'm sure you can imagine, they are now celebrating what they see as a massive victory and potentially a turning point in this almost 6-month pro-democracy movement on the part of the pro-establishment parties. They're now licking their wounds. The chairwoman of the pro-Beijing party, the DAB, offered to resign after suffering stunning losses on her part. That offer wasn't taken up. Now, we were at one of the polling stations last night where Jimmy Sham, a pro-democracy activist, was elected. He won the seat from an incumbent. We were watching as people were watching that count unfold, watching democracy in action. Huge cheers when his victory was announced among the people who were there. In his victory speech, he said that his win were for all those people who have suffered so much over the last 6 months for the pro-democracy movement, including all those that are up to more than 5,000 people who've been arrested as part of these protests so far.
But Charlotte, what is the impact likely to be? Because, I mean, it is just a municipal election. So ultimately, how is it likely to affect Hong Kong's relations with mainland China?
We have had a response from mainland China. This morning, the foreign minister said in a statement that Hong Kong is part of China no matter what happens. And he urged Hong Kong against anything that would affect the stability and prosperity of Hong Kong. Now, as you say, in reality, district councillors don't have a huge amount of clout. This vote usually more about community issues. This time, though, very different. This was all about a vote on the politics and on this protest movement. There are a couple of factors, though, that need to be taken into account. District councillors, now that the pro-democracy camp has a majority, they will now win more seats on the committee that will appoint the next chief executive in 2022. So there are some, albeit limited, powers of these district councillors to influence politics in Hong Kong going forward.
Charlotte Chelson-Pill in Hong Kong. Thank you, Charlotte.